Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We just finished checking out the original version of the song America by Simon and Garfunkel. Now we're going to check out a completely reimagined cover of it, this time by the prog rock band Yes. What I find most interesting about this, right off the bat, I know it's going to be different because it's 10.5 minutes long. And the original was like 4. That's a pretty big difference. So let's dive into it and find out how the band Yes interpreted the original and more specifically, I suppose, what they added to it. Little cheeky staccato guitar idea over there. I love the variability to those staccato notes too. Some are wider, louder, longer than others. So the drums are on a 5-beat pattern. The bass was on a 6. I'm not sure what the guitar was doing. But I think it was all polymetric. I don't know. It's a really interesting 4/4. If you follow the chord progression, it was changing on beat 1 of each bar, but the drums were coming out on the end of one.
I've got some real estate here in my bag. So we put a pack of cigarettes on Mrs. Wagner's pies. Walked on to look for America. I said as we boarded a Greyhound in Pittsburgh. Chicken seems like a dream to me now.
It's very bombastic. Everything is very larger than life.
Laughing on the bus, playing games with the faces. She said the man in the gabardine suit was a spy.
the slide into this blues rock. Oh man. Wait a second. We skipped a verse where Kathy read and he looked out the window. Also, this blues rock is really not leaning into the vibes of that last verse. I really thought, given... I'll hold my thoughts, I suppose. With half the runtime left, though, I'm pretty sure they've hit all the vocals. Oh, that was a fun descent. That led us into this crunchier harmony, yeah. Lots of bell on that right cymbal. What? I don't know if I should start this off with a fun little bit of comedy about how I don't think this worked for me, or if I should start with the praise in order to maybe get some people on my side before I start talking about how this doesn't work for me. Let's go with the joke. You know, the I don't know what it would be. It's not really a meme, but it's more like a generic sitcom situation, I suppose, especially ones with kids present in the show, and there's usually a dumb kid, and they write something for homework that is just phenomenally amazing. It's the best thing they've ever did. It shows that they're a bit of a genius if they're misunderstood and maybe just don't know how to apply themselves to their schooling. But when they talk about something they're passionate about, it's well written, definitely an A plus 100% assignment, and they turn it in. And the punchline is that it didn't complete the assignment at all. It was like something totally unrelated to what they were supposed to do, and they get an F. Anyways, that's what this feels like. The song is exceptionally well done. I just don't think it fits the track very well. It's not a great adaptation of what Simon and Garfunkel were originally looking to explore. And that doesn't make it a bad song, but it does make it feel jarring against the lyrics. In sort of a similar vein, though, I feel less negative about this one. It sort of reminds me about Panic at the Disco's cover of, why can't I remember the name of that song? Into the Unknown. Like such a popular song. And we covered this like so long ago during covers week. Um, some people wanted me to talk about a bad cover, something I thought that wasn't a good rendition of it, and that's what I picked. And it's because of something similar here, where the music that was written for the original lyrics, I feel just don't match up to the lyrical content in the same way that the original did, and that's not always a bad thing. We've listened to some stuff this week that took, oh, in fact, look at Pink Floyd and Paul Bearer. And Paul Bearer just took the ideas to a very different direction. It's not always bad to explore a different set of emotions with an original set of lyrics. In fact, some of my favorite completely new renditions decide to take a very different approach to a similar set of lyrics, a similar story, and view it through a different light. It's quite possible that that's what's happening here, and I'm missing something that would connect everything. To me, though, this sounds like a phenomenal song that just doesn't have anything to do with the lyrics. So let's get into that. The song kicks off with very, yes, prog rock, jazz fusion adjacent writing. Lots of layers, very bright, very energetic, tons of harmonies. It is very fun to listen to. I think this is a fantastic way to kick the song off. In fact, we have a full 4-minute opening until we even get to the first set of lyrics. It is filled with joy and hope and positivity and bounciness, and it's infectious, and you really just want to move along with it. It's exceptionally composed, the performance is beautiful, and there's a lot of new ideas in here. While I think that, at least on the underbelly, it's still utilizing a similar-ish chord progression. I don't think they changed that. The foundation of the song, at least in our intro, is similar. I don't know if it's the same 4 chords, but it's a very close progression. There is a little bit of the DNA left from, or utilized, I should say, from the original while building a completely different intro to the song. As we know, the beginning of this track is hopeful and joyful. Hey, let's go look for America. There's nothing that ties us down. Everything I own is in this bag here. Let's get some sweets and some cigarettes and let's go hitchhiking. Let's go explore what we can. Let's find America. It's very bright. It's very hopeful. It's cheery. It's naive, even. Especially since that phrase, let's find America, we've gone looking for America, it gets twisted into a darker vibe by the end of the track. That's the big thing for Simon and Garfunkel's original vision of it, is that what was bright and hopeful and playful gives way to a sort of darkness in the track. So, to start the song off with this huge journey, 4 minutes in, all music, instrumental, tons of melodies, tons of layers, just really bright-eyed and cheery. Yeah, let's go for it. I was on board with it here. A little taken aback by all of the new stuff written for it, but still, I could feel the spirit of the original in here, and that's what really matters. I mean, the point of this week is to find stuff that's completely redone, and I think they did that in an exceptionally tasteful way. Also, an exceptionally flourishy way. Just very yes. They did it in a way that's 100% them. We bring in the lyrics, and these are just as bright and powerful and positive. The harmonies in here are majestic. They use these massive intervals in their harmonies that just sound very big. I don't even feel like that's the right word. It's monumental. Especially when they land on the "they've all gone to look for America" bit and they repeat it with more harmony and then more harmony, and they keep building this vocal wall here while we have these layers going on underneath. The drums keeping the time, the bass is giving us walking bass lines that also border on melodies themselves, providing counterpoint. The guitars, I don't even know what they're doing half the time. Sometimes it's counterpoint, sometimes it feels like they're just off in their own little world, sometimes they're embellishing, putting in little 3 and 4 note runs around the vocals. When they start holding something out, you get a nice little guitar run. It's just, there's just so much going on. It's sparkle, it's glitter, it's glamour, it's sugar. It's just musical sugar. It sounds so good. It fits so well with this idea of bright-eyed, naive, presumably younger people here. I don't know how old Simon Paul was. I do believe that this was um Simon Paul. Paul Simon. No, I don't know anymore. Who made this originally? Simon and Garfunkel, right? Simon Paul. Yeah. That was a weird moment. I don't know how young he was when he went on this journey across Northeast America. But it was that journey that influenced the lyrics here. Um, and it is semi not autobiographical, but derived from one's own experiences, but more like a heightened retelling of it rather than using it as a kicking off for a metaphorical adventure, so to speak. Anyways, Bright Eyed and Naive. I don't know where we're going with all that. A lot of hope to find America. This energy continues on throughout the other four verses this time. We check them out as they're on the Greyhound bus, they're hitchhiking from Saginaw, they're on the bus laughing and playing their games, making up these backstories. They kept all the lyrics too, which I think is interesting, directly bringing up Kathy, even though, yes, might not know anyone named Kathy the way that this was definitely a person for Simon. I was gonna say I'm ambivalent to that. I think that's actually where I stand on it. I know some people change up lyrics to make it more proper for them. Some people change pronouns when they cover something. If a woman originally said it, and they use the word she or her, referring to themselves, and they might change it to he or him. Queen sometimes gets changed to king. You know, we see stuff like this all the time. Um, Especially, interestingly, going back to Frozen once again, Let It Go had a lot of covers and saw that a lot changing from Queen to King. But this keeps everything as it is, which I think is an interesting way to go about it as well. With everything else that got altered through here, we didn't alter the lyrics. Except we did. The fourth verse is gone. And I'm not sure why. I felt it to be a rather important verse. It was the beginning of the end. This ending kind of comes out of nowhere. Hey, let's go find America. Hey, we're hitchhiking. We just got off this other bus. We're hitchhiking down through here. Now we got on a different bus and we're playing games and making up backstories and just having a fun old time. And I'm lost. And I'm kind of empty and I'm kind of aching and it just slams into that. I really like the transition that verse 4 originally had where it showcases some of this energy wearing off. The days come to an end, the sun is setting, and Simon looks out the window, looking at the sun go down across some plains, if I remember right. Kathy sits reading a newspaper or magazine. They are in their own worlds, both introspective, both isolated, which leans into the feelings of being lost and not being able to find that self actualization, that meaning of being here that we explore in the last verse. This is a perfect way to move into it, and instead we just get thrust into the dark realization without the transition into it. It's a very strange decision, and I want to know why Yes did it. And it's not even like they didn't do 5 verses in here, anyways. We had 5 verses, it's just the last time we repeated the element of being lost. They really wanted to hammer home the darkness of this journey, but they jumped the gun on it. I think they had plenty of room to do it twice if they really wanted to. I don't think it actually works well going twice. It sort of defeats it. The purpose of it is the gut punch. After all of this time and energy and positivity, I'm actually walking away feeling lesser, though a bit more connected because everyone else is on this journey as well. It's the revelation. I'm gonna spoil an old movie. If you've never watched Sixth Sense, skip forward like 15 seconds, I guess. But imagine if at the end of Sixth Sense, they explain, hey, this guy's been dead all along, and then the credits roll, and then there's a mid-credit scene, and he tells us, oh, in case you didn't catch it, this dude's dead. And you're like, uh-huh, I got that the first time, and now it feels cheaper. And that's sort of what I feel like here. The ending doesn't lack, or doesn't have that emphasis. It lacks the punch. It's been pulled now because they felt like either I didn't get it the first time, or they could do it better again at the end. Maybe they just felt like they needed something to wrap the song up, and guess what? If we had just gone with the transition verse, talking about how they're isolated on this bus doing their own things and kind of winding down from all the energy, and then did the blues rock solo section and then ended with the gut punch, that would have worked phenomenally too. We would have had an extended journey through some of the isolation and bluesiness of this before getting hit with the revelation of what the song is about. It's just basic storytelling. And I can't believe they and the thing is I don't usually criticize Yes on their storytelling. This is what they do exceptionally well. Even if it goes over my head sometimes, I can appreciate and see what they're aiming for. They usually have really big concepts in mind, and here I feel like they missed it. Just by a hair. It's the strangest omission. I'm gonna get off this topic before I ramble too much more about it. I think I've made my point. On this first time through the final verse, though, the music doesn't change. They do indeed change the music multiple times through this track. In fact, I think there's 4 distinct sections on here, all doing their own things. Very difficult to... 5? I forgot about the ending, when they bring in the jazz fusion part. It's difficult to say that they all belong together, but in typical Yes fashion, it's more about crafting a sound sphere for the story. When the story goes specific places, they explore that musically, and sometimes the story is told through the music exclusively without lyrics, and we'll get into that in a second. They did a fantastic job with this in most places. Here, though, I think they had an opportunity to add some depth to this final verse that Simon and Garfunkel didn't. They continued to play the music that they had played, and I had a read on that about the cyclicality and never-endingness of this journey, but I also feel like it could have had a little bit more darkness to increase the impact of the final moments. With Yes already doing 2 or 3 different ideas before we had got here, I really felt like they were going to go in this direction, much like they have in many of their epics, of crafting music that fits the lyrics perfectly, even if it doesn't create a a smooth series of musical ideas. They do tend to create fantastic soundscapes for lyrical stories. And here I was really expecting something a hair bit darker to create some of these undertones of feeling of lacking a place, of knowing this journey might be never ending. All of the ways that this final verse undercuts everything else. And instead we just got the same bright, positive, bombastic, massively uh, layered sections. It's not a bad decision. Much like Simon and Garfunkel, they just did the verse section again for the next verse. A lot of bands do this, but Yes is not a lot of bands, and that kind of makes it sting a bit more for me. What I found even stranger, though, was after this we went into a blues section. The exact emotions and vibes that I think should have been underneath this final verse, they just decided not to, probably to play the verse line again and keep some sort of consistency, which seems completely out of place for Yes for me, but maybe that's just me. I haven't heard everything they've done. Maybe this is pretty typical for them. Regardless, this section brings about a lot of energy to it. It's full of guitar solos playing over blues chords and scales, and just has a general longing for more, but with a bit of bombast. And I'm trying not to read too much into that. It's a massive section. It feels closer to rock than to blues, but it still brings some of that dark bluesiness to it. I'm trying to really view this as them doing blues as close to their style as they could and fitting with the general vibe of the track. If they had shifted to traditional blues here, it would have sounded really out of place. But there's another part of me that also views this in a similar manner to the saxophone from the original. The saxophone was, I think, put in the track in order to say, hey, we're talking about finding America. What is one of America's most prominent musical creations? Is jazz. Blues is also in there for sure, but jazz is distinctly American. And so we have it in there, but it's not part of the song. As I mentioned, it's distant, way in the back, and doing its own thing. It's a single saxophone soloing. It's more about the inclusion of it sonically to sort of allude to this musical concept of America more than making it a jazz folk track. Here, Yes does the opposite of that. Blues is definitely a very American musical product. Let's put some blues in here, but not as a background, not as an allusion towards. Let's do a 5-minute blues rock section. And through that lens, it feels a bit disconnected. Once again, it is a fantastically written and performed section. The solos in here are energetic. I love the bass work. The drummer is just a machine right here. It is fun to listen to. I greatly enjoyed it. If it was its own separate track, I would have no qualms about it, but it is connected to this other thing and it needs to be read in context of that. And I just don't think it works well. If it were bluesier, if it were slower, maybe even if it leaned into any of the darkness of the blues, the dreariness of it, the pain, I think it would work a lot better. Instead, it feels like a high octane middle part of a rock show. This is the part you're supposed to get amped up about. You just heard a bunch of songs you knew, you sang along with them, and now the guitarist gets to shine, and you just get to watch them shred. And it's just such a good time. And like, that's not what's going on in the story. We just talked about how our main character is at their lowest. It's a bit of an eye-opening segment. And then we have a party, figuratively speaking. It just feels out of place, and it leads us back into a repeat of that section to further emphasize the disconnect that the blues rock part had with it. The jazz fusion outro just feels completely out of place, and I have no idea what its purpose is at all. I literally have zero thoughts about it. Bewilderment. That's it. Why is this here? How did we get here? And there's only 30 seconds left. What are we doing? And so I walk away from this track with mixed feelings. I genuinely enjoy this track musically, moment to moment. It's a fantastic ride. I love the expertise put on display on the composition side, on the performance side. I love seeing how some of these lines move into each other. The bass slide into the blues rock section was a masterful transition at going between two very distinct and different styles of music and finding a way to bridge them together, if nothing else but for a moment, so that we can smoothly go from one concept to the next. The solos in here are catchy, the harmonies are deliciously gorgeous. There is nothing I can say bad about this song, honestly. One of the few Yes songs that I think I wholeheartedly love from beginning to end, at least on the compositional side. It really is its decision to use it as a cover that I feel is the strangest elements, what I have all of my nitpicks with. It doesn't feel like a good cover of America. It feels like it misses the mark on every, well, in almost every way. I still think it kicked off the track fantastically. Absolutely capturing that feeling of somebody at the beginning of a journey before it's worn them down and before they've made any realizations about themselves and the larger journey and any of the metaphors that go along with it as a writing tool. But once we hit the 6 minute mark, that's when things start to fall apart for me. And unfortunately, oh no, not the 6 minute mark. I guess the 5 minute mark. Yeah. That'd be halfway through. And that's about the time when the blues rock section kicked in. And that's when I realized that it almost feels like the beginning was a fluke. Just happened to line up because nothing else does. And there's so much incoherency between the lyrical themes and musical ones that it it just doesn't hit me as hard. As much as I prefer this compositionally over Simon and Garfunkel's more simple folk style, Simon and Garfunkel's hits me harder. It is a complete package, if a simpler one, but the heart and the emotion are worn through on both sides, and the impact is amplified from that. This works better if I don't know the lyrics. Those are my thoughts on Yes's take on America. Let me know yours. I'm sure there's going to be some opinions that are probably different than mine. I think this is one of the few times maybe the only time I've gone in pretty hard on Yes. Like I said in the past, they're storytelling band to me, much in the same vein as Genesis, but at least for my tastes, they work better for me. And this was just not what I expected from them. It's kind of weird for me to say I expected more from one of the biggest prog rock bands in history. It's probably not fair to them. I am curious what I would have thought about this in isolation, though. If I hadn't heard Simon and Garfunkel's, if I didn't know this was a cover, everything's still there. I just don't have anything to compare it to. Would I still have picked up on the the schism between the lyrics and music? I don't know. Anyways, your thoughts, comments, perspectives, opinions, all that stuff. Yeah, drop it down in the comment section. Let me know what's up. Above that, in the description box, you can find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I will be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. We're going to check out an entire album. Till next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.